Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I am talking about not loving God like you used to. Not loving God like you used to. And I'm also going to title this message, The Breakup. When we decide that we want to walk with the Lord, some things happen in our lives that aren't always pleasant or nice. Sometimes the enemy comes along and uses people, places, and things to disturb our relationship with the Lord. Sometimes we welcome the enemy without knowing it. We may go back to our old lifestyle, listening to music that we shouldn't be listening to. We may go places and sit down with some individuals who we know are not Christian. We may watch television shows, and we may also go on the internet looking at some things that we know are not the least bit approved by God. And so what was once a quality relationship where we were drawn near to the Lord and we were happy about all that He was doing for us, and we were just going through the scriptures and learning some new things and sharing the gospel, gradually we fall away. We become apostates. We turn away from the Lord. We have issue with God's speech and God people and God-like talk about all things dealing with heaven and hell, sins and sinners. So when this sort of thing takes place, the patience, the perseverance, the hope, the joy, all things righteous start to fade away. It doesn't happen overnight. Oh no, for some people it happens gradually over decades. Some people remember the Christian who used to be active, who used to say beautiful things to people and encourage them, who used to walk around with like a glow on their face. But then when they sit in their presence for a while, they realize that's not the same person. That's not the same person. I talked about this briefly in an audio dealing with how one's relationship with God changes. But this time I'm talking about how this connects with a breakup between two individuals. Whether they are headed towards separation or divorce, or they're simply breaking up because they have been boyfriend and girlfriend for so long. The breakup. The breakup is something that many people don't want to recognize. They don't want to go through because of all the pain, because of all the stuff that they know will take place. Separation of goods. Money's lost. People will not treat them like they once treated them. The extended family, that is. Mutual friends may end up picking sides. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with breakups. Some of you all have been through this sort of thing, and it hurts just to even think about it. But sometimes you do have to go back down memory lane to see how you're messing up even now. And others, you don't have to go back down memory lane, but you do need to take a look at your relationship with God and see how the breakup has affected your relationship with God. For some people, they drew near. They drew near to the Lord as a result of breaking up with a person who treated them very mean. Other people, they drew away from the Lord because they wanted God to do some things, and God didn't do some things in that relationship. And so now they resent God. Why is it, Lord, that we couldn't make it? I mean, we went to the church, we studied, we showed ourselves approved and so forth. Why is it, Lord, that you didn't bless us? Why is it that you didn't tell me that this woman or this man was this way? Lord, I mean, come on now. I thought that we had a tight relationship. I know I felt that way one while there. I sure did. I felt like, God, you failed me, because I was praying to you all those years about this man, just no longer cheating, and that he was going to, just be a quality husband, and you were going to make it so, because I just believe in you, Lord, and I know that you can turn situations around. And then the Lord reminded me, but I do not touch man's free will. Man will either freely love you or he won't. That was a hard pill to swallow. And rather than accept it, I turned against the Lord. I felt like God wasn't there. I felt like he just didn't have my back. And as a result of doing that, I ended up going into relationships looking for a rebound. Online and offline. Dating. Looking for something or someone to comfort me, because the breakup was just at times too much to bear. My breakup with man was also a breakup with the Lord. And I will tell you, that is a dark place to be in when you decide that you know more than God. That's a dark place to be in when you start blaming God. When you start using the same tactics that was used on you in your relationship with the Lord, you start minimizing the relationship that you have with him. You start denying the things that God gives you in the spiritual realm. You start blaming him for all of the issues that took place over the course of your years. And you may even bring up some past stuff and yell at God about some past stuff that he shoulda, coulda, would have done. You start cursing God. You start talking about you don't want any Christians or anybody coming to you with anything dealing with God. Doesn't it sound a lot like that breakup? That breakup that you had with someone where you didn't want to believe what they were telling you as you were separating from them? Part of the reason why we are breaking up is because all those times that I came to you and talked to you and asked you to work with me, you didn't want to work with me. You were more interested in working with someone else. Remember those times when I gifted you, when I gave you these things, to help you in your business or to help you personally? Remember those times? But you never showed appreciation. Oh, and another thing, remember all those times where you held grudges? I'm going to stay there for a while. When you held grudges, when you resented me, when you were bitter, when you were even jealous of my accomplishments and you didn't support me, remember those times? Resentment, holding grudges. That sort of thing takes place with many individuals in relationships, and God reminds us that love doesn't keep record of any wrongs in 1 Corinthians 13, but some people want to continue to keep record of wrongs. And then when they're keeping record of wrongs, they're also impatient. They're quick-tempered. And of course, in Proverbs, we're reminded about how we're not supposed to make friends with an angry man. And yet some folks think that they can be able to turn situations around, that they can be able to give a man or a woman so much love, so many gifts, and so many other things to make that person joyful, to make that person the kind of person that they want, that they can fall in love with. And when it doesn't work, they resent that person. When their efforts, when their control tactics don't work, they resent folk. Or they will successfully pull the damsel in distress up out of her mess, but then she ends up surpassing them in a lot of different things. And so now they're angry, they're mad, they're upset. Because you weren't supposed to stray away from me. You were not supposed to do better than me. You were supposed to stay under me. But they see that God is working with individuals. I think of the many educated women who end up coming up out of that dumb, silly, foolishness. They end up saying, no, I want something out of life and I'm going to get it. And they do it through education. And then the men who they met when they were dumb, silly, foolish, resent them for it. Or how about those men who end up becoming quite successful as a result of some of the help that their women have given them? But then the women start to get angry because the man is no longer acting like a son, acting like a child that they can mother. So they start to behave very meanly. Because I thought that you were going to allow me to care for you and do this, that, and the other. And now you are acting independent. You're acting like you're better. They just confuse everything. No, God is progressing some folks. He's causing them to no longer be dependent on you. And so for some people, they don't like the independence, because they know that they don't have the upper hand anymore. They know they don't have control over anything. They see what God is doing with some individuals. And rather than just be grateful and accepting and loving and treating that person kindly, they are very mean-spirited and ugly and mean toward them. For what? And meanwhile, the relationship with God is also suffering too. There is a correlation. I know some folks don't want to believe that, but there is a correlation between how you treat a woman or man of God and your relationship with the Lord. And witnesses can see that sort of thing. Well, wait a minute. Isn't this woman doing some righteous things for the Lord? Isn't she gifted? Isn't she anointed and appointed? Well, why is this man treating her like this? Oh, wait a minute. Go deep now. Now go deep. When you start thinking like this, what might be his relationship with God? Take it a step further. Don't just look at the relationship between man and woman and why they are separating or breaking up, or why this man is talking negative about the woman. Let's go deep with it. What is his relationship like with the Lord, his creator? Then when you start thinking about some things, and when you start doing a little investigation, some research, listening to other people talk about him, you realize that this man is not where he's supposed to be spiritually with his Father. And some of them, it goes even deeper than that. Not only is their relationship with God so distant, so troubled, but their relationship with their own father is so distant and troubled as well. Now, it may be as a result of some things he did, or it may be some issues that the father has put upon the son. And so rather than looking at God as that adoptive father, he says, no, I can do all things through me, rather than I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You see, so he's walking around and he's just doing his own thing, and his relationships with women is suffering. Or it could be the other way around, a woman who is having many problems with men, because she can't get it right with her family. She can't get it right with her relationship with the Lord. Now, I will tell you, if you get your relationship right with the Lord, then the rest will fall into place. That is, not fall down, but fall into place, right where God wants it to be. Because what we believe is good and wonderful and sweet and nice and healthy and functional isn't necessarily what God believes, because God will divide families up. He will do that when you're walking with him. Why would that even take place? I'll tell you, because we are not supposed to be fellowshipping with children of darkness. Children of darkness are not supposed to be close to us. We're not supposed to be sleeping with children of darkness. We're not supposed to be, doing the types of things with children of darkness that God would want us to do with righteous individuals. So when we blur those lines and we allow people who are dark in their thoughts and in the way they behave and so forth close to us, God will create division. And sometimes this darkness shows up. As I told one young lady, these sorts of things will take place and change the dynamic of the relationship when death takes place. See, we underestimate death. A lot of times people end up drawn away from the Lord because they cannot accept the fact that someone close to them has gone on to be with God. And so they're angry at the Lord. And when they're angry at the Lord, they're angry with people around them as well. They don't sit still long enough to allow someone to talk to them, to counsel them, righteously, to get them on the right path. No, they're going to fight. They're going to come up with excuses. They're going to talk about how everybody is wrong. You see, they're going to blame husbands, they're going to blame girlfriends, they're going to blame wives, they're going to blame anyone and everyone because someone has left them. They wrapped their lives into that individual so much to the point where they can't function in this world without them. They thought they could, but then when death came, nope. It was just too much. You see, that's why we don't idolize our husbands, our wives, our children, and other family members and friends. We don't idolize them. A woman told me that, well, I don't idolize people, right? And she was specifying her parents and so forth. But in her conversation, every time you talk to her, she was saying what her mother said, what her mother did, where her mother was going, how her mother has impacted her. She's not going to be able to do this, that, and the other without her mother. You see, but yet she claims she doesn't idolize her, but she does because her mother is like the sun in her life. You see, everything she does, the sun being S-U-N, rises and falls. And if her mother's happy, she's happy. But see, some things are taking place now in that relationship where she realizes she's responsible for her own happiness. That her mother can no longer live vicariously through her. And that's what's making her mother angry, and that's what's affecting the relationship. Because her mother's no longer getting her way. Some of you all, you need to tell me, Mother, you're sorry, because it's a cheat sheet on how some of these mothers operate. They're never going to tell you the games that they play on your mind and on your siblings and on their husbands or boyfriends and so forth to get them to do what they want. But you need to be in the know if you're a child of light so that you're not played, so that you're not continuing to idolize folks. So that breakup that takes place for some people, it extends even into families where you're not just breaking up with the boyfriend. Okay, but you're breaking up with his people as well because you allowed yourself to be so attached to them that the breakup is going to affect some areas of your life that you least expect. Same thing goes with, some of these marriages. Spending so much time with individuals that you're breaking up, not just with the husband or with the wife, but with the people that are behind those folks. Sometimes this affects the children in a way where they're picking who they want to be with. No, I don't want to be with mom. I want to be with dad. So now you've got to break up with children as well to a certain degree, because that means that part of that time they're not going to be with you. They're going to be with their father. They're going to be with their mother. And so you've got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to go with the wind. Sometimes the children are going to love you and like you, and other times they're going to not like you and not love you. And some folks want to buy children's love. They want to buy their affection, That's not a quality relationship. Some people have done it with their partners for years, buying them. And then what happens when the goods break or when you no longer have the money to buy them? They're no longer liking you. They're no longer interested in coming around. They're no longer interested in talking to you about too much of anything because they're thinking about what you bought them or what you didn't buy them any longer. Or what you said you were going to buy, but you never did buy. You see, some people, they will equate the material with the relationship, what they own, what they got, and all of that to make up for the losses. Job loss will affect a relationship and eventually put it on a path of destruction. A slow breakup, if you will, because somebody loves money so much and loves material wealth so much and hates the fact that you have what you have. And so then they start acting very mean toward you. A woman shared with me about how for many years she was with an individual who could not get a job. And one while there could get a job, but didn't want to. Okay? So there was a couple of things going on. And so she had done so much to keep this relationship going from cooking to cleaning to talking to him and encouraging him to, being intimate with him, all of these things when he wanted, and still to no avail. He was still disrespecting her and being evil and ugly toward her. So eventually she had enough and she helped him out the door. Okay? Some of you all, that is what you were supposed to do a long time ago. But you didn't do it. When you need someone and you really love them and you appreciate them, then you're not going to be a headache for them. You're going to encourage them. You're going to step up to the plate and do your part in the household. You're going to be supportive of them. Yes, that is wonderful what took place in your life. I'm going to continue to help you as best as I know how. You don't disrespect them. You don't act mean toward them. But this is why some folks are breaking up. And they've done the same thing with the Lord. Disrespectful, using the Lord's name in vain, cussing people out that are the people of God, talking about how church people are, but yet when was the last time you went to church? Okay? I mean, so many ugly things they say, so many ugly things they do, and then they want to turn around and act a certain way, okay, toward other folks because they don't like truly who they are. Let's just be honest. A lot of times breakups are connected to how you feel about yourself. Well, I don't think I'm very pretty. Well, there you go. Now the insecurity shows up in the relationship. I don't really think I'm very smart. Okay. Now you're with an intelligent man and you're saying how dumb you are. Eventually he thinks you're dumb too. I don't think that I have a quality relationship with anyone. I mean, because of all the stuff I went through with my mom and my dad and all of that. Okay, well, that sort of thing shows up in the relationship. And so, well, yeah, you're not relationship material. I misjudged you. I mean, I need to start looking at somebody else. Okay? Okay? So how we look at ourselves affects relationships. God tells us we are strong, we are wonderful, we are nice, we are, this, that, and the other. After he told us how we have done this and that to, cause all sorts of confusion and drama, of course. We can either accept the truth for what it is and work toward change, or we can fight God on it and the people of God who show us the light about our ugly selves. This is what takes place with some of these folks who call themselves Christian. I remember this song. The song, I do believe, went something like, I used to love you, but not like I used to. Okay? God says for some of you all that you used to love him, but not like you used to. So while you're looking at woman and man, you need to look at how you don't love him like you used to. And your relationship with that human being is a reflection of your relationship with the God that you stood before giving vows in front of the masses. Some people think that it's cute and it's fun and it's nice to talk about how you don't love your man anymore and going and talking to your other man about him. And some people think that they got the upper hand because they can use music, negative music, to send messages to partners about how they don't like this and that about them, or they can talk to friends, mutual friends, about partners and think that information doesn't get back, or they can go behind closed doors with someone else and talk about how they don't like this one and that one that they're associated with, because sometimes it's more than one partner that they're breaking up with. Okay? And they think that they got something going on by saying all of that. And meanwhile, God is hearing it all. And the very thing that you think that you have the upper hand on, whether it's a circumstance or whether it is over a person, God has a way of flipping some things around. And that one that you're talking about ends up being the head, ends up being the one that will walk away with half ends up being the one that will find some information out on you, and it ends up coming out into the public. You see, so sometimes we've got to be very mindful of that breakup process and how it just might go down if we are not on the right side with the Lord. So stay close to God. I know it's hard when you're dealing with somebody who is treating you wrong, but stay close to God, because God's going to turn some people's situations around for their good. And that one who thinks that he or she has the upper hand on you, at the end of the day, all he or she will be is a footstool. And for some people, unfortunately, they're going into their graves. So you won't need to worry about a breakup process with them. For some of you all who have said, oh, I've got to stick this thing out and I've got to do this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, maybe that's what God has called you to do. You're going to break up, though, sooner or later through death. Death do us part. Other folks, they're trying to speed up the process, and that's why they end up behind bars. And then you have some who, I'm just going to go ahead and get a divorce, but nobody cheated on you, but I'm going to get a divorce anyway. Okay, we'll go right ahead and do it. And then you reap what you sow, because then you end up being that one talking about, we could have made it, and I wish that we could have just stuck it out just a little while longer. And the Lord ends up putting somebody new in that person's life who's much better. So we've got to be very mindful of some things when we're going through breakups, and bring God along through the process. I thank you, Lord Jesus, for what you are about to do. And I ask that the Lord will continue to bless those of you all who have just been so kind to support NM Enterprise 7, and those who have said that they are going to donate and do any number of things to help this channel and continue to just get this work done. I pray in Jesus' name that you will go ahead and do just that. So thank you, as always, and to God be the glory.